And we're live. Hey, everyone. Thanks for coming on tonight. We have a really special guest, and we're going to talk about him and the issues that we're going to discuss here very shortly. And yeah, we're going to give it about 30 seconds and we'll be good to go. So here we go. Hey, everybody. For a second, I thought I was muted for the whole time I was talking. So I'm glad I wasn't. So, yeah, thank you to all that were waiting, to those that liked the live before we started. I have some really important topics I'd like to discuss. And before we do that, let's go. Let's go ahead and introduce our friend Juan. Welcome, Juan.
What's up, man?
It's
Long
good to
time no
see you.
see on here. Yeah.
Oh, there's the audience. We're happy to see you.
Now it's good to be back on here, man.
Yeah,
Super good
it's
video.
great. Yeah, definitely, man. So tell us, like, before we discuss like the topics and whatnot, like, how have you been? Like, you've been doing good? Like, it's been a year, a lot's happened.
Yeah, insane amounts happen in a year, man. Yeah, no, everything's good. I've just been mostly on TikTok, just funnily enough, because we're talking about it being banned. Just mostly been on TikTok this entire time, and then there's another like app that we'll talk about at the end, like that I've started to hop onto because just in case, you got to diversify, in case these things get like banned. But no, everything's been pretty good ever since that year. I got fluent in Portuguese. I actually did meet that goal. Like I finally did. It took like 8 months, but it was good.
Yeah, that's extremely impressive that you were able to learn Portuguese in that short of a time frame. Usually it takes, I think, 1 to 2 years to at least somewhat master a different language. And I know like Spanish and Portuguese are somewhat similar, right? But
Yeah.
you're a smart guy, so it wasn't that long.
No, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, I figured it was always missing because it's the most spoken language, like other than Spanish and English, like in the Americas. Like French isn't spoken by that many people. Like, well, a couple million, right? But not in comparison like Portuguese. So that's why I ended up choosing it because if I want to visit Brazil, it'd be good to know that. Or I'd also want to visit Portugal up in Europe, so it'd be cool to just know how to speak it, and it just makes things easier.
Yeah, definitely. I was gonna respond to someone's comments. One said that they saw like stripes, and yeah, I think that's just a part of his camera. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know why it does that. I like bought it because my like the regular laptop camera is like extremely shitty, so I got this. But it's like it's Marcus commented that it looked kind of like a security camera or something. It's kind of weird.
a little bit. It looks good though. You're fine.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you, like, so did you have friends that helped you through this, or you had like a someone that like a tutor or that assisted you?
Yeah. So I had one teacher. I hired her, I think, for like 14 or 15 sessions, but it was like maybe once or twice a month that I did that. It was mostly self taught. Like I got these grammar books, and then I would just have a journal like where I would write any new vocabulary or I would write like grammar rules, and then I would rewrite this in case until I like memorized it. So that's how I learned is just writing that stuff. And it was so similar to Spanish that it just helped. And I also like kind of brushed up on my Spanish at the same time because I hadn't been taught Spanish formally like in a school setting or anything. So I just got a Spanish grammar book and I did the same thing and I just saw like the differences and the similarities. So actually learning Portuguese even deepened my understanding of Spanish in general. So I got better at both at the same time. It was kind of funny.
Yeah, that is funny how that all worked out. So, what's the next language you got going on? Or you're just gonna stick with Portuguese right now?
Just stick with Portuguese. Maybe in the future when I'm like a little older, I may try to do like something like Mandarin or something. Like that's gonna take like years and years to get fluent in. Like I know it's just there's no similarities whatsoever with Spanish or Portuguese or anything.
Yeah, I've tried to like learn Chinese for a little bit. And even I'm not, fluent in it, so it takes time. But
Yeah, it just seems like it'd be really hard, especially to get the writing system down. I just have no idea how you'd memorize the symbols. It'd take forever.
yeah, I don't know how those that are like, well, I mean, like non-Chinese, like are able to like read all that. Still, it's just really crazy. I mean, I can read a little bit, but not at the, you know, expectation that you would think like, oh, you know, he can read all of it. No, no, no. It's a lot of work. Um, but yeah, again, you know, congrats on learning, you know, another language. That's awesome. Not many people can speak three languages, or trilingual, I should say.
Oh, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, I definitely wanted to reach that goal. I'd always like wanted to be able to speak three because like with Spanish is kind of like I grew up speaking it, and then obviously with English I learned it in school. So I always was like, what would it be like to actually learn something from scratch? Like, because I would think like that would prove like that I put a great effort to it because it's kind of like it wouldn't be due to my circumstances essentially is what I was thinking.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, even like that many Americans can't even speak three languages. So you have a lot to be proud of, you
I
know?
appreciate you, man. Yeah.
Yeah. So congrats on all the work you've done. Um, so yeah, we're gonna go ahead and move on to like obviously the main topic, right? And you all saw the thumbnail, and that is that like there's most likely going to be a ban, you know, on TikTok before this year's over. Um, and for those of you that see in the news and whatnot, you know, TikTok is not American owned; it's owned by China. There's been a lot of issues and geopolitical issues going on between the United States and China this past years and whatnot, right? And in my honest, you know, opinion, I believe that we're entering the beginning stages of a Cold War. And if you look at this graph I'm about to show you that I made myself, I think it all makes sense. Now, there's no obviously need to mass panic. It's normal for two civilizations at a somewhat equal playing field um, to have opposing views. And this has happened for centuries, right? Of course, we have the label Cold War, correct? Um, but again, China has risen over time to a point where they are also considered a superpower by many, you know, of our politicians, American leaders, and whatnot. And now we are truly seeing this since the balloon, right? China was brazen enough to send a balloon over the American skies. I can't see how that is a clear sign that we are entering the early stages of a Cold War, unfortunately. So let me explain here through this graph again that I put together what I mean and how is this a Cold War. Of course, as I said before, Cold War checkbox, two superpowers, right? This is said on many news outlets, again, through reporters, politicians, that people view China as another rival superpower. Two opposing political ideologies, check. You know, the U.S. practices, you know, capitalism, and China, of course, is a communist country. Um, and then arms race. China has been in a race to outnumber the amount of ships in their navy. And if you look at it, China has around, well, no, no, the U.S. has around, I think, what, seven or eight uh, port, what is it, shipbuilding, shipyards. And China has almost 20. And they are just moving around the clock, outproducing us in naval ships, weapons. So it is becoming an arms race. Obviously, both countries have nuclear weapons as well. And then a tech race. Again, if you read in the news, many what news outlets like CNN, Fox News, they're all saying that China is now ahead of us in the technological race in seven different ways. And that should show you enough that we are in this sort of like tech race against them. Again, China has 1.4 billion people. Their focus on employment, entering into the science and math field, they just take it a entirely different way than us in the United States do, unfortunately. And I can explain that more maybe a little bit later. And then global influence. The U.S. has had a global influence over the world basically since the world wars, right? And China has also had a global influence as well in South America and Africa, parts of Asia. We see this again. This happens in the news as well. Propaganda. Uh, what how I could describe propaganda would be one good example right now, and I've mentioned this in the video where, unfortunately, our politicians and our leaders talk about this containment of China, right, through these island chains, which is essentially from Korea to Japan to the Philippines. It's called containment strategy. In China recently, I believe yesterday, accused us. This is from a reporter that said accused the U.S. of trying to contain them. and yet we make news videos of saying that we're trying to contain China. So it's again, it's like propaganda in a way. Um, but of course, China has also made propaganda about us as well. It's normal again to do this between two superpowers. Number one competitor, we both China and the U.S. view themselves as the top competition, and then supportive proxy wars. Obviously, the U.S. is in the Soviet Union at the time. They supported these proxy wars, which is essentially like two countries fighting each other, and the Soviet Union and the U.S. were supporting opposing forces through money, through weapons. And if you look at the Russia Ukraine war, we also see this as well. And there's no sufficient evidence, in my opinion, that China is providing weapons, but they are providing money, right? Because Russia doesn't have as many friends as the United States does. And the U.S. is obviously supporting Ukraine through weaponry, money, and many other things. So all those checked pretty much shows that we are in the early stages of a Cold War. But again, this is normal for the world. Unfortunately, I know two global powers. There it is. It would be weird if there wasn't some sort of competition. Again, the term Cold War was created not that long ago. It's not something that's a term that's existed forever. And you're going to see more of this as time goes on. China isn't stopping. Their economy will grow. Our economy will grow as well. So if I could offer some sort of advice in terms to ease nerves, it would be to accept that this is kind of the new normal. But obviously, it's good that there's diplomacy, right? And people can have good communication, or leaders can, so things don't get out of hand. So yes, so why does this obviously combine with TikTok, right? Again, China owns this app. China again has been accused of, well, I mean, the CCP, which is China's government, owns a lot of private companies, right? And they own TikTok. It's a part of their government. So obviously, us as Americans are using TikTok, a Chinese created app. And a lot of politicians have accused China of stealing information from TikTok that Americans use. So stealing our very, very highly like secretive information that we would have. And then that's being sent to the Chinese government, and we still have it. It's still here. Obviously, like my thumbnail says, it's banned, or it will be banned, and I do believe it will be banned before this year is over. You have many politicians from both sides now. It's a bipartisan issue saying that we should ban TikTok. There's also talk that we should ban WeChat, which is a Chinese application, usually used by Chinese in the United States, and they were talking about banning that as well. And this is just becoming more and more common. And we're going to see this again. As I said before, this is a Cold War. The U.S. views China as a competitor. So unfortunately, my influencer friends on TikTok, I would just say enjoy your last days of TikTok.
Yeah, damn, all that blood and sweat and tears I poured in to get those 6K
All
followers,
those
dude.
followers. I want to say, and why I said to Juan, man, like there is this like I forgot what his name was. He's like a news reporter on TikTok, and he was talking about the Chinese balloon, and he was saying like, "Watch out, everyone! This balloon is stealing our information, and they have their security cameras on this balloon." And then you saw tons of comments being like, "Oh no, China's gonna, steal our secretive like information and property and whatnot, IP address, and they're gonna do all this in they're using TikTok."
Yeah.
They're using TikTok, which they're pretty much putting their information on there, and it's being sent to their government. So it's crazy that like they're complaining about that. But it's the dumbest thing, though. That really shows that we, unfortunately, many people in the younger generations, just it's harder to think logically. Such as that example, right? Complaining about a
Right.
balloon in the sky, you know, using their cameras and any other type of like technology they have to harvest, our information when we're using a Chinese app. Um, so yeah, man, I was just like kind of curious, like what your thoughts. You think it seems like justifiable, Juan? You work in the military. Do you believe that, just in your opinion, because I know you worked hard, man, on getting those followers on TikTok.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm happy that you did. And yeah, I'm curious on your opinion before I give mine. Like, what do I think? Like, it should be banned
I
and
I think it's very likely, like if especially if things get worse with the tensions. And I'll say this because there's actually like a whole community on TikTok called like Mil TikTok or military TikTok where you have countless soldiers on there or like Marines, military members that make videos and they make recruitment videos or they'll talk about the intricacies of like the different branches and how you can promote up or how they work. And so they're giving all this information out to the public, which is I find I'm sure like maybe they're probably following whatever departmental rules they have or company rules they have, right? But at the same time, that information can be used by like China's way, especially if they're just stealing data. They probably would focus in on literally that segment I just mentioned, the whole mil TikTok or military TikTok hashtag. Like literally, you put that hashtag, you'll see nothing but military videos pop up from the U.S. So I could see that. Or maybe I mean another measure would just be they like the U.S. would just prevent military members from using the app in general or posting anything to do with the military on the app. So I can see like certain measures being taken. I correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought in 2020 everyone this is before I think I hopped on TikTok in general. Like everyone was saying like, oh yeah, President Trump's going to ban TikTok. He's going to do it, and I thought he had said that he was, and then it never happened. I thought that was something that had been talked about before.
Yeah, like that was a plan, you know? That was the plan that sorry, one second, let me close this. Evil advertisements popping up. Okay. Yeah, Trump had planned on banning TikTok. I guess like an American company said that they would buy TikTok instead. And I guess I'm not sure what the problem is. Like maybe that wasn't like flushed out completely, or obviously, the government of China still has some sort of like control over that app, right? Or the
Yeah,
company that owns TikTok still has some control, which connect the company to the government. Um, so it's still an issue, right? So yeah, I appreciate like your opinion. Yeah, it just seems very likely. And I just wanted to,
yeah,
before I give mine, I wanted to just prove my point in terms of like this Cold War problem that is going to happen. It's going to escalate, not like terribly, uh, but you're obviously we're going to see more in like the news. Where was this at? So this is the article here, and I'll just read a little bit of this. And it says here, like China and the U.S. already in early stage of a new Cold War have to choose either peace or escalation. Analysis. Okay, so China and the United States are already in the early stage of a Cold War, new Cold War, and have to make a decision whether to escalate it further into actual confrontation or embrace peaceful development for all. Dr. Victor Gao, chair professor of the Soto University and vice president of the Center for China and Globalization, told CNA that it is absolutely necessary for the two superpowers to do their utmost to maintain healthy and steady constructive relations. Earlier on Tuesday, China's foreign minister Qin Gang gave his first news conference in his new role during the annual parliament season in or session in Beijing. The former ambassador in the U.S. took over the role at the end of December. And then let me see here. Okay, so he talks about Taiwan. So yeah, that article kind of just discussed like what's going on, obviously in the world right now, and that we are entering this new phase of a Cold War. Um, I can't see how anyone else could not see it from that point or from there's already enough evidence. I just showed a graph, right? Um,
yeah,
but you're still going to see like politicians be like, "Oh, we're not in that yet," But I think honestly, the politicians are doing their best to not like create some sort of mass panic, since that's the government's position is to ensure that normalcy survives and is enforced in a way. So it's best not to truly tell the general public what's really going on. But this is what's happening. Um, so yeah, my thoughts on TikTok also is just like it is evident that it will be banned. There's too many issues, I think, between the U.S. and China. The, the geopolitical goals, as I've said earlier, are just completely polar opposite on what China wants and what the U.S. wants. Again, the U.S. is a nation state. We've existed for only around like less than 300 years. China is a civilization state where they've existed for 5,000 years, um, which is an extremely long time. They practice a completely different language, culture, and everything.
yeah.
Um, so this will happen. Do I think it's in the best interest of Americans? I think just because of what's going on. in terms of like information being stolen, I mean, I already have a TikTok, right? So I'm already screwed.
Yeah, you
Uh,
already got your shit stolen, bro.
yeah. But here's the thing, though: if tensions continue to escalate, which they probably will, um, I think it's fair to believe that China could also raise tensions on their side in terms of how they would handle the technology that they give to us in terms of like the applications that we use that are from the Chinese, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I think it's best that it is like banned, and I'm glad that we're going to talk about the new app coming up. Um, sorry, that's my mic, and yeah, there's just a more of a large distrust on Chinese technology. There was a phone that was called the what was it? Wei. Sorry, let me pull it up. It was a Chinese technology. It was like a Chinese phone, right?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that phone was banned in the U.S. Because the American government and politicians believed that this type of Chinese phone uh, was able to, take American information, you know, highly important information, secretive information. Um, what was that phone called? Because I had it in the back of my head, and called the something called where is it here? Oh, Huawei. My bad. Started with an H. Yeah, Huawei phone. And yeah, that phone is no longer allowed in the U.S. It's been banned completely. So there's no reason to believe that obviously TikTok will also be banned. Again, it's a continuing process. Um, let's see here. Did anyone say anything? They can't. Nowadays, you just have to look up those issues for yourself. Yeah, yeah. You just have to look and see what's going on. Um, this is Tim Asuna.
Oh my god, not this guy.
He heard you were on, I guess. He never
Yeah,
comes
dude.
on when you're not on.
No, yeah, you said he was missing for months, bro.
Yeah.
That's fucking funny.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, move on here. I think we pretty much gave our thoughts on like the band, right?
Yeah,
So
I
maybe we
could
can
see it.
just
Like, do you think it'll be like the later part of the year, like around December? Or do you think it's gonna be sooner than that?
ooh man. I think by summertime we're gonna start
Oh
hearing the
shit!
because the Biden administration is already like taking these into consideration, right? So if Joe Biden, so like his administration's taking this into consideration, then it's probably gonna happen.
Damn.
Joe Biden also views the Chinese technology, specifically TikTok, as somewhat of like a low key threat, right? Um, I think that balloon. I don't know what the Chinese were thinking. The
No,
government was
I don't
thinking
know either.
that balloon raised tensions. So that's why I was like I said that move from China was like very brazen for them, very gutsy to do that. Like put it right over American airspace for the American public to see. That was on all the news. Like I was working out at the gym one day, and I on at least 5 of the screens that I saw, it was a Chinese like spy balloon. Um, so yeah, I would say by summer it will be. Um,
Damn, that's not far
but
off, dude. Summer's like what, June or is it May? Somewhere
it's
around
in
there, dude.
yeah, it's around like June. June it'll start. As long as the politicians like continue to like hammer this and be like, hey, this is a threat. We should
Yeah,
remove TikTok immediately. Then you know it's going to happen. And China itself and how the American politicians view China, again, it is bipartisan in its own, as in like many people on the left and the right agree that many of China's behaviors is inexcusable in terms of how China operates within its country, outside of its borders. I could talk about the South China Sea. I could talk about Taiwan. I could talk about what's going on in the country itself and how the American media portrays China's action. And it's to be honest with you, Juan, it's very negative. Of course, yeah, China isn't a perfect country, and they do things that I don't obviously agree with. But it's just you can see it all over, like all over the media, all over like CNN, Fox News, MSNBC. If it's something about China, it's usually not good. So
yeah.
again, it goes back to bipartisan. Like there's many people on both sides that don't agree with their behavior. Um,
Yeah. No, I can see why you're convinced that they would ban it then, especially if it's getting bipartisan support. I can see it at
yeah,
that
yeah,
point.
it's getting a lot of bipartisan support. And that what's crazy. I have Chinese friends in the U.S. and they're telling me like, oh no, like because they have Chinese friends that work in TikTok companies in the U.S., so they're going to be like out of a job, which
Oh
sucks,
shit.
right? But
Yeah.
there's Americans probably that work at the TikTok too.
Oh, I'm
Um,
sure they are. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, I would love to see like all those influencers who I can't stand. Like they're gonna be like, no, all those followers, all those videos that I made, like gone. It'd be kind of funny. I mean, sorry, I
I
said
mean, yeah,
funny,
that'll.
but
I mean, I'm a cry dude. 'Cause I'm gonna lose my 6,000, but yeah, at least there's that. Like the people that you don't like are gonna be completely gone.
yeah, they'll be
Not
gone.
have to start from scratch. Like that's why it's good that you've like diversified, and that's why I started. Like I have like that little genealogy YouTube, which I don't. I started kind of posting some of my TikTok videos on there. But I need to do that more to try to like salvage as much as I can because when it's gone, all those videos are going to be gone. But that's why I started hopping on another app. I'm starting to see or trying to look up like what other alternatives there are because I think there's several other alternatives, but a lot of people aren't like aware because I think I typed that in. I'm like alternatives to TikTok, and there's like a whole list of 10 things, and I didn't even recognize a single one of those besides the one I just jumped on a few days ago. So I might jump on a few others just to diversify. That
That's
way,
good.
I mean, it's just good practice in general because people say like if you just get banned on one platform and all your eggs are in one basket, you're pretty screwed at that point.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, but no, it's
And
good that you have both. You have your YouTube and you have your TikTok, and now you're hopping on the same app I'm hopping on. So it's just wise to do that.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, it is wise. I remember like back in the old day, man, when like we first started YouTube and we were like nervous, like our content would get taken down. We were like,
Yeah, I
yo,
remember.
download what did we download our videos to? Was it Rumble? No, it wasn't Rumble, it was something else, right? This
Oh,
was
I think we put like one or two of them on BitChute, bro, and
BitChute.
then, and
Yeah,
then
we
we
put them on
stopped doing it
BitChute.
because we got lazy, so we stopped doing it. But we were throwing them on there too.
Yeah, yeah, we were
Yeah,
putting on BitChute. But Tim, as soon as said go on Rumble. Uh-oh. Someone told me to post the link. All right. I
post the
guess I'll drop
link.
the link right now, even though we're not done with our conversation. But we're already 27 minutes in, and we want to keep this under an hour, so I might as well post the link, right?
Parmita Kaji.
I
I
know
don't know.
who
I
that.
think I may know who Parmita Kaji is.
I think I might too.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, just like, and it's crazy though. When we ban TikTok, that's going to show the American public that we are moving in the direction of
Well, I
being.
think right there is gonna like I know you mentioned all these other factors and they certainly make sense, but I'm saying for the average Joe, I think that's when it's gonna slap them in the face basically, and they're gonna be like, oh, holy shit, this is actually getting serious
Yeah,
because everybody uses TikTok, right? Everybody like there's a shit ton of people that get on there or that'll create content. I think that's when people are gonna like, it's gonna be like a wake up call where it's like, oh fuck, like there's something up.
yeah, yeah. That's when we're going to get the wake up call, and that's when it will be it. I think that's when it will be very, very, very more. The American people will be much more aware that like what's going on, right?
Yeah.
Um, that's when it's really going to be serious. I think. Unfortunately, it's sad that we, are at this point. I wish that more diplomacy could be worked out, but it's just hard, and so many other things, man. I could talk about like that's going on in the world with China and the U.S.
Yeah.
But yeah, so maybe we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But just moving on to the positives and negatives of TikTok. Obviously, like you said, it's good for like young people that can like mm, express themselves in like certain ways, right? Like wanting to like, share an educational video or like share a cooking video. Like I like watching like certain videos on TikTok, but like some of those videos, man, like I'm gonna be like, I'm glad you're gonna get banned, and I'm
No,
glad
like,
China's
dude,
doing this.
there's one sector that I mean, I know the freaking fight happens like on every platform, but I've noticed it gets so toxic on TikTok. But it's this whole like gender war thing, which I'm not trying to get into that here. I just think the whole thing's stupid to even like engage in because it's just nothing but toxicity. But I swear to God, on TikTok, like I just see all these videos constantly pop up about it. And I'm like, oh my God, is this all you people fight about? It's
They
just ridiculous, man.
they fight about the same stuff. It gets so annoying. Like
Yeah,
it's like
it does.
it's like they wake up and are ready to post the same like crap. Like I'm
Yeah,
just
they're like
fighting
a bunch
people.
of they're like a bunch of bots. They'll repeat the same lines and go at each other, and then the cycle just repeat, dude.
They got to get some lives or something, right?
Yeah, that's why I don't even get into that. I just skip all those videos, dude. I'm like, nah, man, this shit's too toxic for me. I'm not gonna deal with it.
Yeah, they just live off TikTok. It's kind of
Yeah.
sad. It's actually really sad.
Yeah, and then
Um,
people like, yeah, I think it's an increase like some people's like in certain sectors, like some people's toxicity, and then there's like constant people that'll just go on there and make their anonymous profiles just to like do hardcore harassment or like trolling, like, but to like a big degree. Like I think it's even bigger than like some people do it on YouTube. You know, they do it on TikTok all the time just
they
to be
do.
nasty.
They make
So
those react videos to like just like harass people and whatnot, you know,
yeah,
or
dude.
just like
Yeah.
go after them.
I mean, like I said, there's the positives for sure. Like the positives is like anybody with good content on TikTok, if you post it with the right hashtags, you time it well, you can get a good viral video going.
Yeah,
Especially you got some style, and that's good. You can get some followers like really quick compared to YouTube, because with YouTube it just took forever for us at the time to even get to 2,000 subscribers. It's just harder on YouTube to like grind and get those subs. Whereas on TikTok, it's really easy to get to like 1,000 followers. You know, you just got to make a few good videos. That's the good thing. But anyways, the app that we're both hopping on. I mean, I already got to 1,000 followers since Sunday. It's been like 2 days, and I got to that. So it'll be a good like replacement. I think it's just that those platforms that have the short form content. I think that's like the fashion nowadays. Everyone wants the short form content. Of course, like long form content, like what you do here on YouTube is very good. That's still going to have its place. I think that's like your pillar. Like you should have something on YouTube to like so you're stable and so like you're good. But then you got to like have the short form like in another app just to get the numbers pump and then redirect those people back to YouTube.
oh
But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I agree with you, Juan. Like that's why I have like Instagram going on. That's why I still run Discord.
yeah, the discords, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like I have like IP or Indigenous podcasts like Twitter and Facebook, but I'm barely on those. I'm not even on
No,
those at all.
I hate Twitter, bro. I refuse to be on Twitter, man. I always
Twitter's
thought
pretty
the app
toxic.
was yeah, I always thought it was toxic. And I always thought the app was just stupid in general. I was like, no, I hate Twitter.
I didn't understand the obsession with it for so long. Like why people, I mean, I guess people just like fighting on there and whatnot. Like so many, I don't know, like, I mean, I guess because they're famous, right? But so many like actors and actresses and all those other popular people have Twitters, just like let them know what they're doing 24/7. And I guess if you have like a million people following you, then maybe it's fun to them, right? But just like to the
Right.
average Joe like me, just like, oh, whatever, right? Like I don't care
Like
about making tweets.
Twitter just seems like one of those places where it's like maybe it's because I just never figured it out, but it would yeah to your average person it just seems like it would be impossible to even get a following or even get 1,000 people following you on there. It just seems like really tedious. Whereas like fucking TikTok or like that other app we'll mention later where I just put on a video that's fucking nice, a little bit of editing skills, and there you go, 1,000 followers here or a bunch of engagement, and so that's why I like these other like video based apps, like not Twitter though.
Oh yeah. So let all the audience know IP is anti-Twitter. I'm kidding. I really can't stand it though. I mean,
No.
I it serves somewhat of a purpose for me because I kind of like watch what's going on like Russia and Ukraine, and there's like some Ukrainian like soldiers that like post videos of like some serious like carnage that's like going on, right? And it's like
Yeah.
serious stuff. And I want to say I like, but it's interesting to see like the true like sides of war, right? Because they like put images on there that's like really like hard to look at, but that's reality. That's what's going on, unfortunately, right? Um, so, but yeah, other than that, like there's so
I
many
keep
soul.
I was
Huh?
gonna say I keep having like certain people like kind of I guess they're just messing with me. I mean they could happen, but they always mess with me. Where it's like, oh, you still got a couple years left in the reserve, so your ass could get sent up to Ukraine, bro. If shit
Yeah,
pops off.
no,
So
I I have a decent like feeling. I like to believe it won't get to that point.
yeah,
Um, I don't know, man. It's crazy what's going on like Russia and Ukraine, right? Like you see so many American people now. It's interesting that like they were all like on board to support Ukraine, right? Because they were invaded by Russia. Russia like came over there. And now, like, you see the general sway of the American populace, like people just being like, yo, like, why are we sending billions of dollars to Ukraine now? Like, have we not sent enough? We have poor infrastructure. Our education system isn't that great. We continue to fall in math and science for younger generations. We still have a homeless issue. There's other problems going on, but we're sending all this money there. So I think you're going to see that more, and I think that's going to play a pretty big. It's going to be a big factor into like the next like presidential race, right? Because one of the politicians, I don't know which one, is going to have to talk about like wanting to focus on like issues going on in the U.S. and taking care of domestic problems. And it's unfortunate because I feel bad for like the people of Ukraine, but yeah, we are sending a lot of money over there, and again, like if you play like the math game, as I said, I think I told you that like Russia has 140 million people. Ukraine has like 30 million right now, probably after so many people have left. And Russia continues, Russia and actually it's a lot of Asian countries seem to not have as much of an issue with sending bodies to war as people in the West do. What do I mean by that? Like obviously, like the Japan during World War II, China when they supported North Korea, and again, going back to the math, Russia probably has like 20 million able-bodied men, right? And then
Yeah.
Ukraine probably has like 2 million like fighting aged men. So as long as Russia just all they have to do is just continue to send men, um, and then just eventually uh, wear out the Ukrainians, and that's when it gets scary, right? Because then you're going to look at like serious issues in terms of like NATO getting involved. Um, I don't want to talk too much about that, but yeah, it's. I think that Russia's like kind of like taking their time in this because there's no need to escalate it because they probably don't want to fight NATO. They probably don't want to go that route. Um, but I think that's what's going to happen. I think this war, the war with Ukraine and Russia, is just going to continue to be slow. There's no reason
Yeah.
for Russia to speed up. So going back to what you were talking about, tweets and whatnot, I think my friend, you don't have to worry about that. But I think that like as time goes on, it could get out of control. Probably.
Yeah, hopefully see the thing is like I'm in the reserves for the next 2 years, but then after that I'm still in what's called the individual ready reserve. So that means I'm not going to be drilling monthly or like training like at all like for those 2 years. However, if a conflict happens, I'm still liable to be called out of the IRR during those 2 years and deployed. So it would have to hit the fan for that. But I'm saying like technically speaking, I'm still like up the next 4 years if some shit happens, like where my ass is would probably get sent somewhere. So I'm hoping nothing happens for the next 4 years. I'm not really trying to. I just don't want to go do anything, because it just all this seems like a waste. Like everything that Russia's doing with Ukraine, like sacrificing all these people's lives for no reason. Like, I mean, it's not real. I mean, I guess yes for like territory and resource and stuff, but it just seems like a massive waste of human life for no reason.
They're the biggest country in the world. They got enough land, right? Why are they
Yeah,
going to take
exactly. Like what the
this
fuck?
area in Ukraine for? Like they if so many resources. Russia, like yes, like most of the Western world put these sanctions on Russia, right? But they're still doing good because they have so much oil, so much gas. They produce so much gas and oil because they have Siberia, right?
Yeah.
Um, and they're still doing okay. Um, so it's just that like I I don't know, man. Like I agree with you though. That like Russia again, like they started this. There was really no reason. Like sure, you can talk about like their threat that Russia believes that is NATO, right? Which is like a lot of Western countries in this defense pact. But I don't know like how the outcome will be. Um, but it's just hard because I don't think our government is going to stop like sending money to Ukraine anytime
Yeah.
soon, which means that prices are going to rise more. Things are going to get more expensive. It's just going to be harder for us, right? Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I think that in terms of like what you're worried about or what you discussed, right? I think that if NATO does get involved, like that's all European countries then, right? So that's Spain, United Kingdom, Turkey, all those countries. So I don't think that like that many American soldiers would be sent there. But as I've said in videos before, I'm not a military
Right.
strategist. I don't assume,
It just depends how many soldiers they would send. Like, because I mean,
right?
there's levels to this. Like, how many active soldiers they would send, how many reserves they would activate. If they would activate IRR reserves, which is a different set of reserves, then you got the National Guardsmen, and so you got a bunch of layers. I'm just saying, like, if shit like really hit the fan, obviously they would do like everybody right at that point. So,
Yeah.
but
Well,
that'd have to be like more extreme, I guess, to where they would want to activate literally everybody. Because then after they've activated everybody, including the reserves and RRR, then the next step after that would be like a draft. But that would be like that'd be insane.
yeah. Well, Russia's already lost so many soldiers, right?
Right.
So
I don't think I think they would ultimately be defeated. Like in that type of conflict. Because they're already struggling a shit ton with just their Ukrainian soldiers, which was surprising. But what one of my buddies said, like that's in my military unit, was because he was like keeping track of it. This is like months ago, but he was basically saying like a lot of the Russian like equipment was faulty. It didn't work well. The commanders that were in charge, like that had funds for these for these companies that would like they were corrupt, so they would spend it on themselves. They wouldn't spend it on the soldiers or on the equipment or on keeping things up to date. And so like the soldiers were not properly trained. The equipment sucked. It wasn't even functioning. So that's why they were getting their asses handed to them by a lot of the Ukrainians, because it seems to have been a big back and forth here. But that's why they you would have expected like Russia to kind of like steamroll everything, right? And it just didn't happen that way. They got pushed back several times. So
yeah. Well, also like NATO is supporting Ukraine pretty with a lot with like
well,
weapons
yeah,
and money and like pretty advanced weaponry as well. Oh, is Guts in here? No way. Should we let Guts come on?
yeah, we can.
Wait, I hope it's Guts. Oh, we left. Never mind. Well, that was
Uh,
awkward. Sorry, guys. We had someone that was in stage here in the back, and then they, left. But yeah, like you were saying, a lot of Western countries are giving so much aid, military aid to Ukraine.
Yeah, like
Uh,
top of the line tech, and
yeah,
then there's a shit ton of volunteers. You have like, and then I'm sure both sides have been doing. I know Russia probably has definitely been doing this, but I'm sure the Ukrainians have been hiring mercenaries as well. So you got your mercenary companies that are taking part.
yeah, definitely. I heard there was a lot of people from, Iran is supplying like drones, right? They're supplying these kamikaze drones, which drones that just like go up in the air and then just nail down
Yeah,
to their targets and explode. Um, but I heard that there's mercenaries from Africa and where else? Somewhere in the Middle East too. I think it was Syria or Iran as well.
yeah,
But yeah, there's mercenaries on both sides, um, and that's why I talked with you about earlier about that group called the Wagner Group, right? Which is some like militant group of Russia, and they're doing a lot of the fighting against Ukraine. So anyway, I think we have a guest that wants to come on.
all right, bet.
You ready?
Yeah.
All right. Starlight.
Hi, you
Uh,
guys.
what's up,
Hello.
Starlight?
Starlight.
Hi, Juanchalo. Hi, Marcus. How you guys doing? Pretty nervous.
Good.
This is the first time
Good to see you.
Nah,
I've
don't
been
get nervous. Like you'll
someone's.
get used to it.
Yeah, no. So I just wanted to give my opinions on the TikTok thing. That's okay.
Yeah, of course.
I'm gonna miss it. I'm not gonna lie. Um, because anytime you ban TikTok, I mean, I don't know how many countries TikTok is in, but I think it's in a lot of countries. I know it's in Haiti. I know it's in what we consider Latin America. So if it gets banned in one country, we're missing out on a bunch of content creators that could put out some really cool stuff. And I don't know, I kind of like the savagery that goes on TikTok. I kind of like people going at it, and because okay, I feel like platforms like TikTok, it's like the new YouTube. Like YouTube used to be like in the early 2000s, YouTube was the voice of the people. Regular everyday people could get some attention, fame, notoriety, and put their views out there, and get people to see things differently. Because at least the era of my parents, my grandparents, the media was controlled by like three different companies, or like monopolies, right? And so like when the internet came around, like stuff like YouTube or different social medias happened, that's kind of like the voice of the people, you know. It's not the rich people or the celebrities or anything like that. It's like regular people that can become famous and can get a following and now can make an income, make some money, get some donations or promote their products like small businesses. And I've seen a lot of people on TikTok do good charity work to like help the environment, recycle, help orphans. And they promote themselves through TikTok and they go viral and then they get thousands of followers and then the people donate. And it's just, I've seen a lot of positive things. And you were kind of right, Juan, where it's like, we're not, I don't see any other social media where it's easy for people to go viral if they just make one good video and
Yeah.
like start getting a following. Um, and TikTok, also has the coolest effects and filters. I haven't seen a social media app beat them. It used to be Snapchat, and then Instagram kind of like took it over, copying that formula with the Insta stories. And like I feel like TikTok has taken it over. And the cool thing with TikTok, at least if people aren't like little punks and put in the privacy setting like block everything. But before that was people were doing that, were like being like cowardly before they were putting like no, don't stitch me, before they were putting private everything. People could like stitch and respond, people could give each other feedbacks, like that whole like respond to a comment, right, and make it a video. That's like super cool. I know Instagram copied that, and I'm pretty sure other apps are gonna jump on it. I already
Yeah.
see YouTube Shorts, but it's like no one so far has gone to the quality TikTok has gotten,
Yeah,
right?
it's a really good quality app. Like I was gonna ask you, Marcus, because she mentioned other Latin American countries. Like obviously, like they have their own like independence and all that. But I was gonna ask for your opinion. Do you think that if the U.S. banned it, do you think the other Latin American countries or some of them would ban TikTok, or do you think they wouldn't give a fuck?
That's a good question. So I think the countries that are very close to the U.S., and I don't mean just like geographically, but obviously Mexico, but Colombia is also very close to the U.S. So is Chile. Um, I can see them following in the U.S.'s footsteps. Bolivia is not so close, right? So they're actually more closely aligned with China. Um, so I could see them probably not banning it. I could see them not banning it. Brazil, it's a good question. Um, but I could see a good portion of countries maybe following in the USA's footsteps. But I could also see some that would not. Again, probably Bolivia, and then maybe Venezuela. They probably wouldn't ban it.
Right.
um, and then possibly Guatemala, but I'm not sure. Because usually, how the world usually works over here in the Western Hemisphere is like whatever the U.S. does, a lot of countries down south, and obviously Canada will follow.
Right.
Um, uh, but I can see some countries still keeping it open, and obviously, like people that are watching this from in Asia, they'll still have TikTok, right? And it's still pretty popular, I think, in Europe. But I think there are some countries in Europe that are discussing this as well. So it's a very much like European American, like Western, um, I would say, unified force in terms of like them wanting to take TikTok down or just remove it entirely. There's already people in the White House. I think the administration is working on not having TikTok, in any of the, in the Capitol or any buildings, right? There's even governors that are talking about having TikTok banned in their states. So this is a serious issue. It's growing.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you
I,
well, let me ask you this, actually, because let's say some Latin American countries or just some other countries don't ban it. Do you think the average Joe like me and you could hop on a VPN and still use that shit?
we are average Joes. Yeah. I think we still could, because in China, the Chinese use VPN
Yeah.
to get to Facebook and YouTube and even Instagram in some sense, right? That they find ways. Um, so I don't see how we could not either.
Right.
Now, what happens if we get caught or something? That's a whole different
Well,
story.
yeah, maybe there'll be some consequences like a fine or something
Yeah,
at that
yeah,
point.
definitely. But I think it would still be accessible through that way, unless just like the U.S. government puts the complete like clamps on TikTok. Then maybe not. But people always find a way, right?
Yeah,
It's never
they'll,
almost
they'll be they'll be
impossible.
away. They'll be away probably.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. But yeah, it is interesting how, yeah, I mean, the U.S. is the main country here that has the most geopolitical power and economic weight. So it makes sense for other countries to follow in their footsteps, of course. But I'm not sure though, like the countries in the Caribbean and others, because it is popular here. There's three TikTok companies or organizations in the U.S., or there's two. I forgot. There's one in L.A. and I think there's one in Los Angeles. I'm not sure if there's any others in the rest of the Americas or not. There's some in Europe, and then there's obviously some in Asia. Um, so yeah, we'll definitely see how things go. But yeah, unfortunately, I'm sorry, Starlight, you seem to be on board with having TikToks be here and not banned. But yeah,
I think a lot of countries are gonna uh, ban it
yeah,
just based on security, and I think the average people are gonna be pissed off about it because it's. I
Yeah.
know even like the poorest people use it. That even shows up in the algorithm, so you do get recommended people based on where you're at. And I'm not gonna give away my location, so please don't do that. But yeah, I think it just like I've talked to some friends who are older and they kind of just see TikTok as stupid and stuff like that. And I can see why a lot of people hate it. Like you were mentioning that, like, oh, you hope some people like once they get banned, great, we don't have to hear from them again. But for me, I feel like I'm very freedom of speech. So it's like I feel like even the idiots should have a voice. The smart people should have a voice. Everyone should have a voice. No one should be silenced. Um, in the past, you know, people didn't get to communicate with each other and like befriend each other and follow certain people. It was just like see like whatever the media wanted us to see, right? And now we're getting input from people from different countries, and I think we're just gonna miss out on that, miss out on different perspectives. Even when people have fun, like it's still super fun to see people do the most craziest shit to get like the most views and like the dances and all this stuff like that. I will be happy that I will no longer see those Insta thoughts on TikTok. I will be happy about that because but I just think I don't know. I just think it sucks because um, you know, although people have put out that like where do all these idiots come from? Like why are they all located on TikTok or why are they all located on Twitter, stuff like that. But it's like these people have always existed. It's just now we get to hear them, we get to see them, and so people can make more informed decisions, more aware decisions about the current state of affairs, people's I don't want to say like IQ levels, where other people views on certain topics. You get to see, oh, I didn't know that this many people agreed with this person, and before we were just ignorant about that. But a lot of people feel that way, and I don't know. I do see a lot of negatives, but um, I guess you're right that there is a lot of positive things. There has been a lot of evil shit going on TikTok. Like I've seen people use it for bullying, mocking people, doxing people, and those are despicable people. But I don't know. I just feel like we shouldn't. We, I wish there was at least a replacement for TikTok, But I think there's always gonna be like cybersecurity issues. No matter which country you're from, there's always gonna be other countries spying on each other and like using innocent things like TikTok to do it. But it's like there's no
It's
privacy anymore. So I
yeah.
think more people, instead of trying to ban people or allow stuff, or I think more and more people should be in favor of free speech. So like it doesn't matter if you voice your opinion or not, that you'll be okay, that you shouldn't be fired from your job, you shouldn't have your life be ruined and people after you. I think more people should support freedom of speech, no matter who it is. Because I see people use TikTok to try to cancel people. I think that's stupid. Like,
Yeah,
what the fuck?
I agree. That shit's toxic. Just because somebody disagrees, that's what I'm saying. Like, so that's why I don't like about some people online in general. Like, you have a disagreement with them, or you just have different philosophies or different worldviews, and they just want to make everything simple, like black and white. Oh, you must be some like evil villain. And this is like, dude, it's not that fucking simple. Like, grow the fuck up. What happened to being able to just debate and talk shit out, or just agree to disagree? Like, some people can't even do that. Like, they just don't even have the maturity for it. So I don't know.
I just feel like before it wasn't so accessible to communicate with each other. So like now people have the social media apps to go at each other, like debate and like tear each other down, say nasty things to each other. Sometimes it's entertaining, sometimes it's like super negative, like faith in humanity lost. Like why can't we get along? But I don't know. I think it's part of it. You're gonna have conflict, but maybe in those discussions and those arguments, other people can watch and say, okay, now I changed my view on this, you know. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like censoring people. Like that's one thing I don't like about TikTok. You report a post or whatnot. The TikTok is very easy on taking stuff down, right? And there's
Yeah.
always people saying like, why do they keep these videos up and then they take mine down? Like, why is that? I don't like that either, unless there's minors or like really nasty violence against vulnerable groups like children, things like that. I think if it were up to me, just keep it all up, right? Unless you're doxing someone, stuff like that. Okay, I could see that being taken down, but I just hate when the social media apps like start censoring people. It's like it's stupid. It makes you feel like there's an agenda there, but I don't know. I just feel like the more they censor people, the more other apps will pop up.
Yeah.
It's like how YouTube sometimes censors people, whereas before it was the wild wild west of YouTube. People could say whatever they wanted, and
Oh
then they
yeah, I
calmed
remember
it
those
down.
days.
Yeah, then they calmed it down, and now you have like BitChute, Rumble. There's gonna be like Vimeo, I think. There's gonna be a new TikTok apps out there, but I think uh countries spying on each other will always be a thing. So people need to like say, you know what, I'm gonna support that person saying their opinion, even if I disagree with them. Because this whole canceling, this whole banning people and their opinion, like before you know, it's gonna be in a large scale where it's like everyone's gonna be spied. Everyone, like people are scared about the little chips and stuff. But it's like, what's wrong with that person going to that place? So what if they know? They shouldn't be punished for it. Is my thing.
Yeah.
I'm definitely on board with you about the free speech, right? I think like the U.S. government primarily looks at like um, how there is like theft through. I mean, you make a good point that every country spies on each other, right? But I think just because the tensions between China and the U.S. are so high right now, and they are really high right now, that this is the reason why like we're coming to a point where this is like a bipartisan issue. Like again, like liberals and conservatives, as they say, Republicans and Democrats are coming together and seeing China as a rising threat in the world. They view China as a country that's trying to overtake them, or as like the number one country, like superpower in the world, right? They view that as a threat. They view China as a competitor. So this is why this is happening. This is why they like. I don't know if it was another country, like some country in Africa or like in Asia that wasn't China. Perhaps they wouldn't go to this level of extreme. But I think because it is China, because it's a country of 1.4 billion people, a country that has, a fairly large military, and just a very advanced society, the U.S. views them as a threat, and it's an advanced society that has its own geopolitical goals that can rival the U.S.'s goals. So again, it goes back to like competition. It goes back to a lot of propaganda that goes on both sides, and just this overall distrust between the Chinese government and the American government. So this is why we are seeing this today. Um, so that's mostly the reason why for the ban. But of course, like I support free speech, and I think that when I was saying that earlier, I was like saying, well, at least like, TikTok gets banned, everyone gets banned, including those people, the
I
negative
mean, yeah,
Nancy's.
being petty, bro. Of course, like
Yeah.
you want the people you don't like to be gone, right?
But
We all
like
know.
also the good people we like are gonna be gone. That's what sucks.
Yeah,
And like they're never gonna get a
my
platform
six
where they
thousand
get as
followers.
popular. Yeah, and like for
Yeah,
me, I don't know. It's like super easy to download videos on TikTok. It has the watermark so you can find them easily. It's just super convenient. So I just hope other apps copy TikTok at least and they can come up with, filters that are super cool. And I don't know. It's like makes the editing way easier. Like some of the tricks they have that just doesn't exist in other apps. So
yeah. Well, actually, Marcus, do you want me to mention an app that actually is very similar to TikTok,
Yeah.
like right now? So let me pull this up and share a screen so I can just show you guys. 1 second. Let's see. Yeah, we'll just share a screen like right here. All right. Can you guys see or not yet?
No.
You can
yes.
see. Okay. You can see this now, right? This comparison.
Hmm.
Okay. So yeah. So like on the right is called Clapper. I believe it's only available in the U.S. for now, but I think that it would surely spread to these other countries because it's an American-based app and it's very similar in structure to TikTok. As you can see, here's like a side-by-side comparison. I joined it on Sunday and now I have 1,000 followers on there. So I'm trying to get more of my fucking videos on Clapper to get it pumped up. So that way, if TikTok does go under, then I can still be rescued and still have a platform, and then I'll see where else I can spread to. But it's very similar in structure. It's not as smooth as TikTok, like with the filters and the effects and stuff like that. But it's still very similar. And they say their AI prioritizes more like genuine content. So like instead of trying to follow trends, like if you just post like a quality video, it's supposed to push it better than TikTok would. From my experience so far, I'm not sure if that's necessarily true because I posted one of my videos from TikTok. I removed the watermark because otherwise, if it has the watermark, it's not going to push the video like on Clapper. So I managed to remove the watermark and I put it on there. One of my most viral videos on TikTok started going viral on Clapper and it's like at 60,000 views. But some of the other videos I kind of threw on Clapper only get 200 views versus if I throw a random video on TikTok, usually it gets more engagement. Like even if I only get 300 views, I'll get like 20, 30 likes or something, maybe a comment or two. On Clapper. If I get 200 views, I might get like 2 or 3 likes. It's kind of weird. Like people on Clapper seem to follow more than they hit the like button. It's kind of odd. But yeah, I just wanted to show that as far as like side by side stuff.
Appreciate you
I
doing that.
remember before you even told me about Clapper, I didn't even know it existed. So they gotta do more promoting.
Yeah, I think on the Play Store, at least with just Androids, I only saw that it had 500,000 downloads. I looked it up a little bit. I saw that it's been out since 2020, but it certainly hasn't been as popular because for it having been out for 3 years, a lot of people don't even know about Clapper. Like I even posted on my social media, like that picture right there where it's like, oh, I just got 1,000 followers on Clapper, like I'm diversifying. And I had multiple people comment on my post saying, what's Clapper? And I had to explain like, oh, it's just like TikTok essentially, but it's an American version of it. So I think that everyone will probably jump on Clapper, and if Clapper's smart, they will spread to other countries. That they're only available in the U.S. right now. But I'm going to do some more research. I want to diversify more. So again, I like did some Google search, seeing like alternatives to TikTok, and there's like a 10 10 suggestions, right? And Clapper was like number 9, so it wasn't even number 1. So I'm curious to see what all these other platforms were and like explore them because and I encourage anybody else that's a content creator or that wants to be one to explore these other places because if you hop on there early enough, you can be one of the big creators. And so that's why I wanted to like start pushing the shit on Clapper because I want to already be like established there. And I basically am with the 1,000 like followers right now. That way, if TikTok does get banned, then I'm not trying to run late to something, you know.
I feel like one of the things they do have to change is the name Clapper. Why is the name Clapper?
I have
Like
no
I feel
idea.
like the rappers are gonna put that in their songs if it gets popular and it's gonna sound super cringe.
Yeah, I don't know why it's called Clapper. It's kind of an odd name, but yeah, I mean, I'm not complaining. Like my phone's blowing the fuck up with Clapper notifications ever since I posted that one video. It's the video I had of like it's ironic. I grew up in the U.S., but my fifth grade grandfather was the vice president of the Republic of the Rio Grande. It was like that video. It was like a 15-second video I put on TikTok and it had 140,000 views on TikTok. And on Clapper right now it has 60,000. So that video is like a gold mine for me. That's why I'm just using it. I'm hoping I can milk some more followers.
I'm impressed there's 60,000 people on Clapper and it's not known at all.
Yeah, no, yeah. Apparently it's 60,000 views so far on it. But no, there's some people on Clapper. I was surprised. I like looked at some of the accounts. Some of the accounts have like 200,000 followers on Clapper. But it seems like it's so new because it seems like a shit ton of the profiles I saw had less than 10,000 followers. So that kind of goes to show you that, oh, this is pretty new. So you might want to hop on it now if you want to take advantage.
Yeah, I just wanted to share. Well, Big Ant said something about the name. That sounded a bit cringe. Yeah, Clapper.
I ain't gonna begrudge the followers. That's all I care about.
Yeah. I think I just wanted to share just one article quickly just to explain my point further on kind of how serious this is getting. And I think it's this one here. And this says, China hits out a U.S. over TikTok ban on federal devices. And as I said earlier, like in the White House administration, they're trying to ban this app. On Monday, the White House gave government agencies 30 days to ensure that employees do not have the Chinese-owned app on federal devices. The order follows similar moves by the EU and Canada in recent weeks. So again, countries in Europe and Canada are doing this. A spokesman for China's foreign ministry accused the U.S. of abusing state power to suppress foreign firms. They said here, we firmly oppose those wrong actions. Spokesman Mao Ning told reporters during a news briefing on Tuesday, the U.S. government should respect the principles of market economy and fair competition, stop suppressing the companies, and provide an open, fair, and non-discriminatory environment for foreign companies in the U.S. How unsure of itself can the world's top superpower like the U.S. be to fear young people's favorite app like that? So clearly we see a response from the Chinese. And it's obviously not positive. And Western officials have become more increasingly concerned about the popular video sharing app, which is owned by a Chinese firm, ByteDance, in recent months. So again, Juan, as we talked about earlier, it's still owned by
a Chinese company,
right?
Yeah. I mean, I could see it being rescued if like literally an American company bought it. Maybe that could be a way to bring it back to where it's not. Maybe it could be banned, and then later in a few months it could be bought out or something. But that's if the Chinese company was even willing to sell that shit.
Yeah,
China's just pressed that like the U.S. is wising up. That like, no, we're gonna protect our security. Like, there's other social media apps, but they're just, what can you say? Like, every country has its right. Whether to ban it or not. I feel like it's just like the public that's gonna miss it. I know it's only for like public employees, stuff like that, but still, like, give an inch, take a mile type of thing. It could lead to complete ban. But, they can stay mad. I mean, what can they really say? They're like, oh no, we're not spying on you. Notice they didn't say that.
Yeah, we're not spying you at all. Yeah, I just want to explain this other article. Again, it's getting really serious. Push to give Biden new powers to ban TikTok moves ahead in Congress, right? This is going to move to Congress. Two U.S. senators said on Monday that their efforts to tackle foreign technology threats were advancing, and then they will on Tuesday unveil legislation aimed at granting President Joe Biden's administration's new powers to ban Chinese-owned video app TikTok and other apps that could pose security risk. So yeah, and what we've been saying this whole time is serious stuff. Like, unfortunately, is again, I predict by summertime, there'll be no more TikTok, US. And
God, it's gonna suck.
I'm gonna miss you, Juan.
I'm gonna freaking spread to other places, and I'm gonna fucking get on. I'm gonna beef up Clapper, bro. Even though it sounds.
I'm surprised you haven't made like an Instagram just for your kind of content. Like, I know you have your own personal Instagram, but I'm surprised you haven't gone to Instagram. I know it's tough to get in there, but
I probably do. I just need to go make an Arid American Instagram and then just try it out.
I love that name. I just love that name.
Yeah, I'll just do an American. By the way, yeah, I'm on TikTok and Clapper. I'm there as Arid American, so just search me up that way, and you'll find me. I'm the only person that uses that type of.
Yeah, that's why it's genius. It's genius. It fits.
I appreciate you.
I like Arid American.
Yeah, and no, yeah, a lot of people don't know that region. Like everyone's familiar with like Mesoamerican, but anything like I think it's like the top half of San Luis Potosi and like anything above that is pretty much arid America. So a lot of northern Mexicans are not Mesoamerican unless they have like a Tlaxcalan lineage or something. But most of them they would just be arid American people if they have indigenous ancestry. So, but it's not a well known term because I made a video on TikTok. It was like 15 seconds explaining this, and like it got like 5,000 likes, and there's a shit ton of people in the comments saying like, "Oh, I'm an arid American." I'm like, "Yeah, just look at the geography, bro. That's the term used, but it's not really well known." So
I'm just ready for Marcus to put himself Andean American.
I could do that. Change it up a little bit.
Yeah, but Arid America or Arid America, that has always been a term, at least for scholars,
yeah,
when talking about
in Spanish,
indigenous groups.
it flows way better. It's like Arido America, but in English, it's like it's arid America, but like a lot of people have never heard it. Like, and even like in the English sources, you'll still see it like written, but like what's in the Spanish name, like Arido America. So it's kind of interesting how that's happened. So
Yeah, it's really interesting how that all like works and how many maybe Mexican Americans think that they are like Mesoamerican, but yeah, a lot that are descendants of those in the northern part aren't really like Mesoamerican at all. Like the Guachichil.
yeah.
Well, no, Guachichils are kind of like central or
No, they'd be arid Americans.
Arid American. Yeah, of
They're
course.
arid
What
Americans.
am I saying? Yeah.
And
Um,
I think that a lot of people can get a lot of pride from calling themselves Arid American because, from what I understand, like that's a pretty tough climate to survive in. Just mainly desert, dry, and
Yeah.
it's a way to make yourself, a little separate from the other like Mesoamericans, and just create a whole new niche and focus on all those indigenous groups that are like the Chichimeca or the Huachichil. And so it just
Yeah.
creates a whole new subgenre, right? Because when it gets to Mesoamerica, people are already thinking Mayans, maybe the Mexica, but I think the Mexica is its own genre at this point.
Yeah,
But like
almost like that. Yeah.
Mesoamerica, everyone's thinking tropical, everyone's thinking pyramid. So it'd be smart to have the arid American natives kind of create their own lane for them to shine, and it's easier if you make that a hashtag, arid American, arid America.
That's a good suggestion. I haven't done that yet. Like as far as arid America, I need to just make that a hashtag. Yeah, that would work well. But no, like that's why I've done like that's why I named myself that, and that's why even on this podcast, when I was on this podcast, I did a whole lot of content on the Guachichil and Chichimecas, and that's why I pushed that on my TikTok, and I'll be putting on my Clapper because it needs to be as well known as the Mexica stuff because everybody they focus on the same stuff, like no hate, but the same thing like Mexica and Mayans and then the Spanish versus the Aztecs, which was a conflict that didn't even last that long. It's like, but everybody forgets the 50-year-long conflict where the Spanish did not win. It's like no one talks about this shit. So it's like, so I want the Guachichil stuff and the Chichimeca War to be as well known, if not better, than the Mexica and all that other stuff.
And they should have really also, I mean, people should, if they're going to focus that much on Spanish versus Mexica, it'd be interesting if people focus more Tlaxcalans versus Mexica, or what's it called? The Tlatlo, fuck, forgot the name. But I was reading a book on it that there was a third Nahuatl group that was also competing, Tlaxcala, Mexica. 'Cause there's a lot of drama going on with those city states. So it's a shame that it all gets generalized and lumped into Spanish Mexica. Because then everyone, they'll just identify with the Mexica side, and then anyone who is of European descent will identify with the Spanish side. And maybe they're German, maybe they're Irish, or if you're native, maybe you're Tlaxcalan, maybe you're Huachichil, and you're siding with a group that maybe we're enemies with your tribe. Who knows? It just makes things more interesting to me.
No, it definitely does, and that's what I've like in the past when people were like that. Well, people have tried to come at me in TikTok, but they've learned better at this point. Where it's like they want to just generalize everything, like including even the Spanish thing, because that gets on my nerves too. Because it's like they just simplify everything. It's always Spanish versus Aztecs, and it's like no, it's way more nuanced than that. Like even on the Spanish side, you have people that were Basques, you had people that were Portuguese, you had Sephardic Jews that came here, and there's a huge special history in northern Mexico regarding that. You had Northern Africans, so it's like there's a whole lot more nuances to than just Spanish this and Spanish that. Everybody always just lumps it all to Spanish. Like I remember I got in an argument with somebody because they got pressed like on TikTok because they're just like these Hispanistas are just really weird people. But they were sitting there crying because I said I was half Mediterranean, saying, "Oh, why can't you just say half Spanish?" And I'm like, because the fucking regions on the DNA test doesn't say Spain, and if you add up all the percentages, all the fucking other regions outnumber the Spanish percentage. So why the fuck would I say half Spanish when all the fucking other regions like are Mediterranean regions? It's easier to say half Mediterranean or whatever the hell. So yeah, but I don't know why that got him butthurt. Like I was like, dude, I'm just actually being accurate. You're just wanting to like LARP being a Spaniard or something. That's your problem. So.
And that's the thing. A lot of people will end up siding with groups that, one, they're not by lineage descent, are not connected to or never were, and two, they'll be siding with people that were actually the enemy of their ancestors. So like if you're Sephardic Jewish and you don't know you're Sephardic Jewish, right? And you're, I guess you look European or whatever, and you'll side with like, oh, you'll become an Hispanista. And then if you do your genealogy, you find out you're Sephardic Jewish. And then you'll be heartbroken when you find out that Spain was persecuting the Sephardic Jewish people and burning them.
Yeah, they were killing them by like tens of thousands.
Hide their religion and who they were, and it's kind of like you were literally praising people that would have killed you if you lived in their era, you know. And it's awkward, you know. And same thing with maybe some native groups, you know, like they'll be saying I'm Mexica this, I'm Mexica that, and then they'll look into it, maybe they're Tlaxcalan, and so all their Tlaxcalan ancestors are like pissed off, like, dude, come on, what the.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not good to generalize, but I don't believe in shaming people for not knowing better, you know, because I did see some people on TikTok where they'll shame people for not knowing, for like being Mexica centric, which really they're just, you know, they admire that civilization. It was a very impressive, beautiful civilization. It's gonna be remembered forever. So like it doesn't surprise me a lot of people fall in love with that civilization, but if you want to, I guess, guide people in the right direction, it has to be with love, not with shaming.
Yeah,
being a gatekeeper, being an asshole.
Yeah, definitely.
All the gatekeepers and all the assholes out there, you know, fuck you.
Yeah, no, that like these. That's what I'm saying. Like people like that have always gone on my nerves. That's why on TikTok, like whenever I've seen people wanting to be like assholes, and they're just like, "Oh yeah, you're just so stupid," blah blah blah. Like I always stitch those videos, and all I do at that point is just literally provide an instructional video on how to get started your genealogy, or like share my knowledge or whatever. Because it's like I don't know what kind of world these people like live in, or like if they're just like mentally not all there, where they think that just being nasty to someone's going to work. It's not going to work. You might want to just show them how the fuck to do what they need to do. That's way better.
And usually the people like talking down to the people, they haven't done their genealogy either.
No, they don't even know an inkling. Like they barely know anything about their own lineages, and they want to sit here like they're on a pedestal, and it's like, no, fuck you.
So. Yeah, like maybe their parents or grandparents, there was what's it called? They were told they were X ethnic group, and then they'll take it and they'll run it, and then they'll talk down to everyone on TikTok, you know.
Yeah.
And maybe they are hypocrites. Like they'll be gatekeepers, but they themselves don't speak the language, never lived in the community. All these things that people have in mind to belong to an ethnic group, they don't meet those at all. They'll celebrate Christmas like everyone else, you know, and have a modern family like everyone else, but they'll be pointing fingers, and I feel like that's wrong. And so, yeah, to hell with those people.
Yeah,
those people drive me crazy.
You get offended if you see this, you know.
That's your problem. All I'm saying is there's way better ways to like help people out, and it's like the people that I've noticed that are the biggest criticizers that are foaming at the mouth, they never actually provide people with any instructional videos on how to do anything or show them like I do. I actually take the time to do it. Like all they do is lecture and lecture. It's like lecturing is not going to do anything. You need to actually show people how to do it.
Or they'll say they did. They'll have like a video from a long time ago that they did, but they won't pin it at the top. They'll get mad. I've seen this on TikTok. They'll get mad at the followers for not scrolling 50 years back into their.
No one's gonna do that. No one's gonna do that. Like
yeah, exactly. So it's like I've already explained this, and it's like bitch, I don't see the video. Where is the video? Like maybe
Exactly.
you pin
Like
at the
you
top.
know how many comments I've gotten where it's like, how do I get started my genealogy? I've already done fucking videos on that. But you know what I do? I just fucking redo the video because not everybody gets to see it the first time I do it. It's common
Or the
sense.
cool thing with TikTok, you can like respond with the video.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah,
know.
I just reply to the comment specifically and then I do the video. Because not every, like I said, not everyone's going to see it the first time. Like maybe 2,000 people will see it, or I mean, maybe if you have a bunch more followers, make 5,000, 10,000 people, but that's not everybody. So you need to just continuously kind of do that.
And people forget like doing your genealogy is hard work. I've been doing mine. God, it's tedious. I do recommend people like maybe create like a WhatsApp group or a Facebook Messenger, wherever your relatives are in, just make a group chat just for your family. And so have everyone chip in with family photos, names, last names, and you'll be surprised how many relatives are willing to help out. Especially the elderly, they want to be what's it called? They want to be remembered by their descendants. So they'll be more than happy to share. They'll be say, "Oh, God bless you, sweetie," and then they'll put in the ID, the pictures, the grandparents, and they may even tell you family lore, family chisme or gossip you didn't know about. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, I've done just a little bit of genealogy just with my parents and the grandparents, and I quickly found out stuff I never knew, and so it's a lot of fun, But do it now while your relatives are, alive,
Yeah.
because once they pass away, they can't help you.
Oh yeah, definitely not. Like, yeah, you got to take advantage of that. It's just it can just be lost tomorrow. That's the thing I always tell people. And honestly, to really have a good starting base to do genealogy as far as like in general, but even if you're just Mexican, especially if you're Mexican, is like you're definitely going to want your great grandparents' names, if not your great grandparents' names, and you can only ask that from certain family members that'll remember that stuff. Because it's not like a lot of people's parents don't keep track of that.
And at least for me, when I've gone to government websites, because in different countries there's national registries, you can just with your name, but mainly your some countries have like a citizen ID type of thing. So everyone has like a select number to like it's like a social security, but like in other countries. But you can use that same number to look it up on the website, and then you'll find names such and such. I don't know. For me, I've tried it, and I was surprised to see like even my own mother, when I put in her name and her ID and stuff like that, I didn't show up as her child, or only my brother showed up as her child. Obviously, I'm her daughter, and my
Right.
sisters are too, but we didn't show up in the national registry. So don't always trust like don't always like think like online sources is the end all be all. You need your relatives help.
Yeah.
You need their collaborations, because I saw some other relatives too, my uncles, where only one of his sons showed up. My grandpa, my dad didn't even show up in my grandpa's, as his son. But those are glitches. Like it's because there's thousands and thousands of people. So for one national registry to keep track of everyone, since it's all done by humans, there's bound to be mistakes. So definitely ask your family members for help.
W advice.
Yeah, thanks guys for sharing all that knowledge. I thought we were talking about influencers earlier. That we are going to drop some names for a second.
Nah,
No, no,
I
no,
ain't
no,
even
no.
trying to do
No,
all that
because
bullshit.
because then they're gonna like catch the snippet and say she was talking about me, and look at her
Yeah.
light skin privilege and living.
Oh god. Yeah. No, yeah, that's why, dude. That's why I changed my content. I just got away from any of the identity politics. So I only teach people how to do this shit. They can do whatever they want with that knowledge. So that's it.
Same thing with me. Like on TikTok, I'm avoiding any
It gets
controversial
nasty on there.
topics. You know, um,
I don't
and
even
and if,
upload
and
it.
if I tap into a little bit, just tap a little bit, then I'll say, oh, I
Yeah.
wasn't talking about you. You know. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, a lot of people have to do sneak disses now, because then otherwise people will develop a vendetta against you. Like if they find out you were talking smack about them specifically, and they're gonna look up your information, they're gonna dox you, they're gonna spread rumors, they're gonna make memes out of you, and then put you as their profile picture. a lot of crazy shit. So it's best people stay ambiguous, you know.
So
Yeah,
insane. I never thought people were that crazy.
it is pretty
No.
crazy stuff, like going to that extent. So no, yeah, that's why I stay out of any of that stuff. Like, yeah, like I said, I just that's why it's like there's no drama with like a genealogy channel or like a history channel. That's why I switched to that. Like as far as my stuff, and then occasionally I'll talk about like immigration, like legal immigration or something like that, or I'll like defend people. Or like the latest one I started doing is like language learning and defending like no sabos. I fucking hate that term, by the way. Where I just defend people like that because I feel like shaming people because they didn't like learn Spanish or they didn't learn the language like is counterproductive. Like instead, you need to again give them the resources and show them how to do it. That's way better than trying to shame because the only thing you cause is more resentment between those people, and they're the last thing they're going to want to do is embrace any culture. They're going to want to repudiate it. Actually, it'll have the opposite effect.
Yeah. So when someone calls you no sabo, answer back, no, yo sí sé, sí sé.
Yeah, no, I
But I
just
hate that term too. I think
oh
people
yeah.
they just get off on like it's like to make themselves feel superior. Oh, look, this person doesn't speak this dialect of Spanish of this specific region as well as I do, right?
Right.
So
It's always see, it's just like a bunch of ignorance because I really looked into it. Like as once I got fluent with Portuguese, I really looked into all this language learning stuff and like because I got certified by actual agencies, I got the certificates up there. But basically, it's like if a person has an accent, that doesn't mean anything. Like you can be certified the highest level possible by the American Council of the Teaching of Foreign Languages, and they would still assume you would have a non-native accent. So that doesn't mean anything. A non-native accent doesn't imply a lack of ability. You can still express yourself perfectly well and have an accent. So that's kind of a some people are just really ignorant. They think that maybe because they might have a more native sounding accent that they can speak a language better than the other person. It's like, no, but can you actually if you had to enter into an actual formal debate like university level, could you hold up? Probably not. You know, you just sound cool whenever you speak the language. That doesn't mean anything. You know, it's about what you can do with it. So yeah, that's just like it's just certain misconceptions people have that they don't get at all.
you know what that
So
reminds me of? That whole like people who they'll have an accent or it won't be their first language that they've ever spoken in their life, but they studied it or they put in the work. So it reminds me of like you ever see on YouTube or TikTok when they ask questions and they'll put in like a beautifully written paragraph in English and then they'll end it with, "Oh, I apologize, my English is not so good." And everyone's like super impressed with their skills because they would have never thought this person spoke another language before English or whatnot. You know, it just reminds me of that where there's people that are super educated, but they're like super self conscious. They're like, "Oh, I'm sorry," but they actually know the language pretty well. You know.
yeah, yeah, definitely. But yeah, that's just like what I've started combating too, like on those platforms. Because yeah, I've had some people like I guess they're just I've every time they do it, I just wreck them because they're like call try to call me a no sal. I'm like, what the fuck? So I pull out both certificates because I got both like in Spanish and Portuguese just for that exact reason. First of all, I wanted to know from a really unbiased source, like, okay, how proficient am I for real? Like from an actual professionals like evaluating me, not some dumbass on the internet that's going to be like, oh, well, this is my dumbass, ignorant ass opinion. Like, I didn't want that. So that's why I just pull those certificates out because it's like it fucking says there what my abilities are. They're clearly stipulated. Like, but yeah, I've like wrecked numerous people that have tried to come at me because I just use that for good. Like I said, people shouldn't be bullied online into like or shamed for like shit that's outside of their control. You know.
That's how people stop wanting to learn French because they realize a lot of French. Apparently, there's a rumor that like there's French people that aren't very sweet to people who are trying to learn the language.
Yeah.
So people will get turned off and say, you know what? Never mind. I'll stick to Brazilian Portuguese. I'll stick to
That was literally what I
German.
thought too.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And yeah, what's ironic for me is super annoying is I'll see people, especially Hispanistas, call people no sabos, and they themselves are no sabos. You know,
Yeah.
they don't speak the dialect or the accent like regular folk. And see, the thing is, what people forget, even the same language in a the same country sounds differently, based on classism. If you grew up in the slums or you grew up in the middle class or upper class, I remember my mom, you know, she avoided saying slang, and I remember asking my mom, well, how come, there's some slang I never was able to manage very well. And I was kind of asking her that, I didn't know these terms, but other people use it. And I noticed that, dad uses them, but you've never used them. Like, why is that? And my mom said, I always saw it always sounded, very trashy. So she taught me something I didn't know, that even within the same country, certain professors or people like my mom, their way of speaking proper is avoiding slang. And some people try to use slang to not sound like no sabo, right?
Yeah.
To sound like, oh, see, no, yes, I speak this dialect or I speak this language well. And they'll be talking trashy the entire time, by my
Yeah.
mom's standards. And they won't
Yeah.
realize it. And then they'll be talking down to other people like, oh, you're stupid. It's like, dude, in your home country, you be considered stupid because you're talking trashy. And I remember my sister told me there was a professor that always talked down on people who would say slang or cuss words that are like slang cuss words. And then he would kind of say, you know what? Let me not hate on them because these people didn't grow up educated. So they don't know that their vocabulary is not that wide for them to express themselves more, So there's just so many variations as far as language. So it's dumb to shame people for it. Yeah, it's stupid. But yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
It's weird how it's the Hispanistas that are like saying all this no sabo stuff and everything. You know,
I've noticed some of them. Like I noticed one person. Like I thought this was funny. He like came at me recently on there, and he was like, "Oh, the reason like you're just trying to like cope because your Spanish sucks. Like so you're trying to cope with your Portuguese." And I was like, "No, like I certified higher in my Spanish than the Portuguese, obviously. Like, and I speak it way better. It's like you're just jealous. I speak three, and you only speak like one, maybe passively two." And he tried to like say that he knew how to speak like Arabic and like German. I was like, okay, well, where's your proof? And there's no proof presented. So I'm like, yeah, anyone can say they know fucking Mandarin and all these other languages. Let's like, but you're full of shit until you can actually back it up with something.
I
So I thought that
remember
was
I was
funny.
there arguing with the guy, and I remember telling him like, "Cam up, prove it," and he shut the
Yeah,
fuck up. He stayed anonymous. Like all these Hispanistas stayed anonymous. Like deep down, they know.
yeah.
That's it.
the Hispanistas are a weird group.
You
Well,
said that they haven't bothered you in a long time, though. That's what you
well, yeah.
said, right?
I mean, yeah, I haven't made too much content though, but yeah, they haven't bothered me for a while. I don't know what happened to them. I guess I don't know, went back to their
Who knows, dude?
weird lives.
I've noticed. I noticed OG. He like. If that's his account, he stays like liking and favoriting like almost every video on my TikTok. I noticed it was kind of. I thought it was interesting. I'm like, okay, you like the content. That's cool.
But you make good content, so
Yeah,
it's
I get. I
universal.
get. I mean, I make content for like both sides, I guess, a little bit. Like, I just teach people how to do this shit. So I guess he likes the other type.
What I wish from the Hispanistas is like before you commit yourself to Hispanidad, my whole thing is like you have to show a DNA test where you at least 80% Spanish. If not, you're LARPing.
Yeah.
90.
But can you imagine someone who's like of German descent or Irish or different like European, and because they grew up in a Latin American country, right? They thought they were Spanish this entire time, and they started
Yeah, I
keeping
bet.
Hispanidad.
I bet that
Because
happens a lot.
there was a lot of German, especially like after the wars, like German immigration to South America, right? Um, even of other countries too, like Middle Eastern countries. There's a lot of different. It's very diverse, so it's like just make sure you do your genealogy, your DNA test before you commit to Hispanidad, because and you better, if you're gonna be calling people no sabes, like you better speak Spanish but with the Spaniard accent. I don't know. You gotta you gotta put in the work. I don't know. I just don't like half-ass Hispanistas. It's like because if you know your shit and you're proud of your heritage, okay, I can respect that. Right? If you're truly, because if you are from that ethnicity, uh, heritage, yeah, you're supposed to be proud of who you are. I can respect that, you know. But if you're LARPing, you look like a clown. So don't be a clown.
Like MXBC.
Oh my god, here we go.
The crazy group. Oh, I guess
Starlight. Yeah,
Starlight's gone.
Starlight. Well, it was good having her on though.
Yeah, it was a good time. But yeah, man, I think that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
That was a good little end to our actual conversation
Yeah,
about genealogy and whatnot.
Yeah,
So
kind of
it was
veered
fun.
off topic after, but I mean, hey, we
That's
did
okay.
tackle this whole TikTok thing pretty thoroughly, though. I will say,
We did.
I definitely want to, like I said, I definitely want to look into those other apps that I saw on the list and see what happens. You know, because, and I'll tell you that way we can just like both hop on that shit. You know, besides Clapper, I'm sure there's the other like 9 things on the list. So I want to see what it is. Diversify, bro.
Yeah, definitely. Starlight, you're back. I thought you like left as soon as we said MXBC. Like,
Sorry about that. I clicked something and then it just hopped me off. But I've basically finished my point. Yeah. So.
No,
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, we're just talking about possible other apps besides Clapper, and possibly changing the name of Clapper.
Oh,
I don't know. I don't know if that's gonna happen, but like I said, I'm gonna look at the other apps and I'm gonna branch out. I'm gonna literally just do the same thing. I'll just download my TikTok videos without the watermark and just blast them on there. And hopefully, I'll do the same fucking one that's been going viral. I'll use that one in like 10 different fucking places, and then watch me get a bunch of followers. It'd be good.
I think Clapper, if they just change it to Clap, will sound better. In my opinion.
Yeah. They their thing like, you know, their stitches, like they don't call it a stitch, they call it a clapback. That sounds pretty cool to me. I think that sounds classy, but the actual name Clapper, I don't know, but the clapback thing is pretty cool. I will say that. Yeah. It doesn't fit all the time because somebody did a clapback on my video, but they were just agreeing with me, so I thought that was kind of funny. They weren't actually like clapping back; they were just, they were just agreeing. So.
Watch it get really bad. It's called Clapback. So you're just fighting nonstop on Clapback.
Oh my god! I hope not, dude. I'm not even trying to do that.
But yeah, it's been real TikTok. It's bury its grave soon.
Hey, another plus with TikTok being gone is like chicks can stop putting the makeup filters. Some are too exaggerated. They'll remove all the pores, everything, and they'll make their eyes look different. That's one thing I hate about Snapchat. What's it called? Yeah, Snapchat. They would change. I don't know who created Snapchat, but they would. Even TikTok has done this where they thin out people's features. They make it like super like straight and thin, and it's just weird. So I guess some people who have wider features who don't like it could like it more, but you're acting like a fraud. And then people who already have thin features, we just look like aliens. So in the end, yeah. And also another thing with TikTok, they'll have filters just like Snapchat where they'll lighten up people's skin tone. And so when you meet them up in person, it's a whole completely different person. So it's like, yeah, all the LARPing can go away as far as that with filters.
Yeah, that's true. That'll be a positive.
Yeah, there's so many like whitening apps on there. It's crazy.
Oh yeah,
I saw a girl that was as tan as me, and then I saw her putting like makeup on her TikTok video, and she looked pretty white after the apps on and everything. After she put like all the apps on it, like she looked very white. So I mean, that's what like Chinese part of Chinese culture is just like trying to appear as white as possible, in your profile. So that's why you see the apps like that, and why it's funny how Americans are utilizing now, and they also appear white.
Of course, when you say white, I assume you're saying like pale, like like skin tone, not like I don't think they're trying to LARP as Europeans.
No, they're not. They're just
it's white. It's just the white.
Yeah, because I know they have their own standard, and it's like, yeah, I recognize people of European descent don't own light skin, so there's a lot of light skin people out there.
Yeah,
There's
definitely.
China, but to all the brown skin, copper colored skin people watching, or darker skin people, like you look fine. Avoid those filters. I think someone should create a new filter that darkens people up, so people can stop paying for the spray tan, so they can learn the darker. But I don't know, just to even it out. I don't know, but that'd be nice.
I do think it's funny how, like, in Asia, specifically like East and Southeast Asia, women and I guess men in some sense, but mostly women try to avoid like being in the sun, right? And want to look as light and as pale as possible. But here in the US, like women try to like be as tan as possible.
Yeah.
Specifically, like obviously a lot of like white American women, right? I remember when I was like a kid. Well, I mean, what American men as well. I remember when I was like a kid in middle school, no, elementary school. And I like came back and I was like really sad. I was like telling my mom that I got picked on because I had tan skin, right? And my mom was like telling me it was just like, hey, don't worry, because like one day, they're gonna try and look like you, right? And now, if we could see it, like tons of Americans like go out like to the beach and like try to get as tan as me. It's funny.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I see it all the time.
Yeah. But I know we're almost at 2 hours and wanted to keep a little bit closer. But no, I'm glad that we had this talk. I'm glad that we talked about genealogy and just some other issues too, aside from like the main points, right? I'm glad that you were able to come on Starlight. It's a pleasure. Um,
Yeah, I'm happy because I'm pretty shy with these things, but trying to open up my shell and become a star like one. So
mhm. are you
Thanks.
are you still shy?
She
I
doesn't
think
seem shy to
I think
me.
I'll be okay. I think I'll be okay. This is pretty unplanned, but I'm just trying to like get my feet wet a little bit. So yeah.
Okay, cool. Good. I don't know if anyone in the audience had any questions. Give it like 1 minute. Juan, did you have anything you wanted to add? Or are you good for the most part?
Yeah, fuck the East.
I'm glad they're gone. It's freaking East
I, I
Benistas.
do I do have one closing remark from my end. Is it okay?
Sure. Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. If you don't, okay, I just want to recommend a book, and if you don't get this book, you're lame, and you're not gonna have good luck. So, so if to all the high IQ people, I recommend get this book, please.
Do you mind if
Oh
I
It's
shit.
really
solo
good.
AO? I'm a solo AO.
I'm in the first chapter and I'm really enjoying it. But
Like, you want to show the
yeah.
book again?
Oh yes,
Solo
Golden
AO.
Skies by Juan Zapata, the dude with the cool last name. So definitely get it.
No,
It's
I,
pretty
I
nice. It's pretty
I
sweet.
appreciate it. I appreciate the shout out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for that. Um,
And
so
thank you for
yeah,
letting me on, Marcus. But I'll say good night to you guys now.
yeah.
Let's
It's
see.
good seeing you.
Thanks for being on.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Yeah, so we're gonna end the broadcast, and if anyone wants to talk or whatever, you can come on and gonna finish this up. So thank you for everyone that tuned in, and good night,
All right.
goodbye.